The most in-depth coverage of the Silver and Black as they set their sights on Las Vegas for 2020. Live from the CBS Sports Radio 1140 studios, it's Silver and Black Today. Join the conversation by calling 702-889-5978. Now, here's Scott Gulbranson.
All right, welcome everyone. It is Sunday, top of the morning to you. Happy St. Patrick's Day, Las Vegas and Raider Nation around the world, and welcome to Las Vegas's only all-Raider sports talk show, Silver and Black Today, coming to you live from the studios of CBS Sports Radio 1140. Hi, I'm your host, Scott Gulbranson, founder and publisher of silverandblacktoday.com, joined by my team, my crew, my co-hosts today. They include our just, again, our redheaded Irish on St. Patrick's Day.
Actually,
draft
I'm mostly
analyst.
German.
Oh, you're German? Okay.
But I'm also not from Kentucky, so you've got everything else wrong.
Wait a minute, though. We fixed that, and of course, I'm talking about Mr. Kelly Kreiner. He is with us as well, so Kelly, welcome.
Morning.
Are you sure?
Top of the morning.
Not top of the morning? I mean, it is St. Patrick's Day, man. Come on. You might be some German, but you're also, right? You're also some...
He's not leprechaun.
I spent 17 years bartending. I hate this day worse than anything.
Oh, man.
Too funny. Also joining us, of course, in the studio today is former longtime Los Angeles Lakers scout and NFL aficionado, Chaz Osborne. Chaz, what's shaking, brother?
Morning, man.
You ready?
Excited, yeah. It's been what a week. What a whirlwind, man.
It's been crazy, right?
I mean, the Raiders just went on a heater this week. I fully expected them to trade A.J. McCarron to the Dolphins for a first rounder the way they were going.
Oh, A.J. McCarron for a first rounder. I mean, I don't know what dream you're having there, but
what a heater.
Well, do you, I mean, it's been a crazy week, and we're going to get into all of that, of course. Now, I still can't get used to, and I know this is a point of real sensitivity for Kelly, and that is I cannot get used to the damn time change when you talk about daylight savings time, Kelly.
It's stupid. It needs to go away. There's zero.
Very succeint and short and to the point.
There's no
Tell
reason.
us how you really feel.
It's stupid. It needs to go away. There's no reason for it.
Well, yeah, okay. Well, I would tend to agree. I can't get used to it either. It's been a rough week. The clock and everything. And next thing you know, it's 6 o'clock and it's still light out. I'm like, what the heck's going on? Anyway, problems. First world problems. Reminder, we are streaming today's show worldwide on radio.com app. If you don't already have it, you're missing out. Radio.com is a place for the best sports, radio, music, talk, you name it. Download it and listen to us live anywhere in the world. Also, we're live today on video. That's right. You can come right here in the studio. If you're watching, I'm pointing at the camera. We're being obnoxious in the studio.
I'm not.
We won't tell you if we're wearing pants or not. But join us on the Three Amigos here on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter via Periscope. And on Twitch, if you're a gamer, we're there too. Don't have a lot of viewers there, to be honest with you. Because I think they probably look in thinking it's going to be Madden and it's just three guys talking about the Raiders. But we're there as well. So anywhere you want to see us, you can with our video simulcast. In addition, make sure to read the website that started this all, silverandblacktoday.com. This week, an interesting piece by Chaz Osborne, some guy, right, that I enjoyed, and I haven't seen anybody else talk about it, Chaz, and that was, you wrote, the Raiders should they should have a little Fitzmagic and sign Ryan Fitzpatrick as the backup quarterback.
Why not? We got all this talent. Let's add a little magic.
Yeah, well, exactly. So we'll see what happens there, but check it out. Journeyman quarterback Ryan Fitzpatrick as the Raiders backup. I like the idea. It's the only all-Raiders website based in the team's future home here of Las Vegas, silverandblacktoday.com. Okay, let's set topics on the table, guys, and run down quickly what's gone on this week. It's a lot of stuff. The trade and signing of Antonio Brown became official, including a press conference to introduce him. We're going to have sound from that shortly. By the way, our crack engineer, David Stepanian. I loaded those in for you, David. They're numbered, so we'll get to those in a second. Raiders also signed wide receiver J.J. Nelson, defensive end Josh Morrow, Chaz Green, the guard, and re-signed Jason. Yeah, Chaz. Signed Jason Kabinda. Also, they signed the LaMarcus Joyner, Jonathan Hankins to a 2-year contract release. A.J. McCarron, as we talked about, wide receiver Jordy Nelson, and we'll see what happens there. Vinny will be with us. Oops, sorry. Excuse me. Not Vinny. we're going to have Austin Gayle, who's going to be here as well in the first hour. So make sure you stay tuned for that. He's the senior content and strategy analyst from Pro Football Focus. If you haven't read their kind of free agent grading, which I found pretty fascinating and agree with for the most part, he's going to be on with us to share his view and his grades when it comes to the Raiders roster moves, and then including all free agency in NFL. He'll also grade out the winners and losers on every team. Austin's one of the best, so make sure you tune into that coming up here in this first hour. Also in the first hour, we're going to go through the Raiders acquisitions and give you our view on whether or not they hit the pot of gold. You see the theme here? Pot of gold. Okay. Pot of gold, or if there's still gaping holes for this team. What did the moves mean for the team? Where will they go next? We'll have a roundtable discussion and take your calls at 702-889-5978. The team will also talk about the NFL draft for the Raiders. How does the crazy week that was impact what Gruden and company will do in next month's draft? We're going to talk a lot about that. I still say go all defense. I've been that way for months in the first round. Do you agree, or am I nuts? We know the answer to the second part of that question. The guys will tell you their take, and you can also call in and tell us yours. Later in the show, we switch gears and talk NFL salary cap. The Raiders were spending like a sailor on leave in the Philippines, but we all know they had plenty of cap space. But do you know exactly how the cap works? We're going to have Jason Fitzgerald, founder of overthecap.com, will be with us to give us all the capology 101 lesson we need. Fitzgerald will help us also take a deep dive on the Raiders cap situation for both 2019 and next year and see how that goes. It's going to be a Gonzo segment for sure. Then we'll ask the question on the heels of me saying I believe the Raiders should go all defense in the first round, fellas. Do you need even a very good defense to win a Super Bowl championship in the NFL? Do dominant defenses like the 1985 Chicago Bears matter anymore? In an era of spread offenses and Patrick Mahomes, do you need a stout defense? We'll debate that question, and we'll let you decide. You can call in 702-889-5978. That one might come to blows. We'll see. We then close out our show, as we always do, with Kelly's Corner as our resident Irish/German/ I don't know what else.
Leprechaun.
Leprechaun?
English.
Oh, he calls you a leprechaun. English. Okay, so you got a little English. And we'll talk about that. Just a week before his birthday, I texted Kelly last night. I texted Kelly last night wishing him a happy birthday. He's like, oh, that's great. I appreciate that. It's next week. So, but we will, we're on the eve of his birthday, a big birthday. We'll talk about that next week.
The eve, a week eve.
Yeah.
Used to celebrate for a month. You're still getting a week.
Oh my gosh. For you, it might be Summer's Eve. Oh, sorry. Wrong thing. But he'll pick a subject on demand. We'll debate. Always entertaining and thought-provoking. You never know what Mr. Kreiner's going to do, which makes it great time, great view, great radio. Also, programming note for everyone today. We will be off the air a little bit early as we have NCAA basketball coming up here on CBS Sports Radio. So the show will end 15 minutes earlier at 9:45. Refunds will be available at the box office. No. But we will be done there so that you can hear some college basketball because it is, after all, Selection Sunday, and we have another championship game coming up. There you have it, Raider Nation. You're up to date. We've set topics on the table. Now it's time for you to chime in. 702-889-5978. Tell us what you think, what's going on, and everything that is Raider Nation right now and what's happening. Okay, guys, so let's jump in for a little bit of sound here first, and that is we're going to talk about the Raiders and the press conferences. They introduced Antonio Brown. And David, we're going to play cut one of Mike Mayock in his introduction. Here's how he started the press conference and talking about the acquisition of Antonio Brown.
As good of a practice football player and works as hard as any football player I've ever seen in my life. And when we came here, John and I talked about finding passionate football players that love the game, that practice hard and play hard. And all I'm going to tell you is Raider Nation, we got a little better today. And it's all because of the way this guy plays football.
Well, there you go. So Mike Mayock, really excited. His first big move, voice. Right? Yeah, he sounds real excited. But their first big move, and we talked about it last week because we knew they just couldn't announce it and have a press conference until the NFL New Year began on Wednesday, per league rules. But the press conference was not surprising in any way. We'll also hear right now clip number 2 from Antonio Brown himself, where he talks about what he's going to bring to the Raiders.
No, we won't have to adjust anything.
Oh, sorry.
With this guy. And we
That's
didn't have to
John
adjust
Gruden.
much with Amari. But this is not about comparing receivers today. We want to continue to improve this football team. We don't want to have a good receiving core. I want to have the best receiving core in football. And I think to have the best, you got to have the best. And in my opinion, we acquired the best wide receiver in football, and let's get to work.
Well, there you go. So, again, John Gruden saying that they want to have the best receiving core, so you got to go get the best, and that makes a lot of sense. But we're going to talk a little bit about whether or not that's the right move in a second here. Is it 3 that's Brown? Okay, number 3. So we're going to go to clip number 3 here, and you'll hear Antonio Brown. Here's what he said in his introductory press conference.
I bring accountability. I bring actions. Not what I say, what I do. How I approach things. Holding guys accountable in the receiver room, developing a pot. Challenging guys if we drop a ball. We're gonna have a pot. Just super accountability. Maybe at the end of practice when I'm doing my jug machine, bring the whole group over to see the jug machine. That way, every guy in the group know, hey, we count on you to make that catch. I'm there watching you work, making that catch too. Because when we all there, we there together. So, bringing some of the principles and some of the things that make good camaraderie and build good teams. To some of the things I know, just whatever needed. Being here, being a leader, taking hold of this thing, full rounded.
Kelly, you seem to have a little bit of a shock.
Accountability? Hopefully he buys a dictionary at that signing bonus.
Well, explain yourself.
I mean, just at his whole time at Pittsburgh, did he ever seem to be accountable for anything that was going wrong or anything that was coming out? I mean, I know what he's saying, like on the practice field and everything. Yeah, he's a great practice player and everything, but that locker room was a mess. He had the whole thing where he's taping in the locker. I mean, accountability is not exactly his strong point.
Well, and Chaz, you jump in on this too, but when it comes to when he says accountability, I mean, we all know what happened last year in Pittsburgh. There's no question that that's a concern, and I think that's where most people's concerns come from. You're talking about the video, which was from 2 years ago, right? And some of the things he did, his antics. I don't know if that has to do with accountability. I think while he said accountability, I think what he's trying to say is that, look, he wants to bring some leadership, but to your point, Kelly, can you be a leader if you've held out on your team and you've done all this?
Do you need a dictionary too?
Oh, man.
Oh, my God.
I think he's just trying to bring the fun to the game.
Jeez, he's almost 40, so he's turning into a crotchety old man over there.
I told you.
Been there for years, man. Been there for years.
But Chaz, I mean, you look at that and you hear a player come in who's had some issues in the locker room, and he says that he has this. But we're going to talk more about Antonio Brown in a second here. We're going to step aside and take a break. When we come back from the break, we're going to be joined by Austin Gayle from Pro Football Focus. He's going to help us grade the free agency so far in the NFL. You're listening to Silver and Black Today here on CBS Sports Radio, 1140.
This is Cliff Branch, former of the Oakland Raiders, 3-time Super Bowl champ, 4-time Pro Bowl, and you'll listen to the Silver and Black Show.
All right, Cliff Branch brings us back in from the break. Welcome back to Silver and Black Today here on CBS Sports Radio. Appreciate you being with us on just an incredibly busy week, not only for the Raiders, but in the NFL as well. And we go out now on our attorney Michael Troiano newsmaker line, and we welcome in one of our favorite guys in the business, and that, of course, is Austin Gayle from Pro Football Focus. Austin, hey, man, it's the first time we've talked to you since you got a little bit of a promotion there. How's everything going?
Things are going great, man. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, absolutely, and congratulations. Your Aztecs, again, beat UNLV. Because Austin, guys, I have Kelly here with me and Chaz. Chaz and I grew up in San Diego, so he knows all about San Diego State. But the thing is, when you look at the NFL now, we switch gears to the stuff that we actually have you on to talk about, is just a crazy busy week in the NFL, and you guys were burning the midnight oil all week, keeping track of it all. And we want to talk a little bit about the Raiders, but first I wanted to get to, in essence, your guys, you put out grades on kind of the best moves all the way from the elite, the very best, down to the poorest moves in free agency this week. Let's talk a little bit about maybe a couple that stick out for you, Austin, league-wide. In your mind, I know one of the signings that you had, and I thought it would have been a great opportunity for the Raiders to go get this guy, and they clearly didn't get that done. The Packers signed Adrian Amos, a great young safety out of Chicago, 4-year, $36 million deal with only $12 million guaranteed. Talk about that deal, and then maybe one or two else that stick out to you.
Yeah, that deal with the Green Bay was fantastic. Adrian Amos played outstanding with the Chicago Bears last season. We talked about it in the office. Adrian Amos is a guy that doesn't give up big plays. And at safety, you have to be safe like that. You can't give up big plays. Largely, a determining factor on whether or not you are a good safety is whether or not you give up big plays down the field. Obviously, you have the great safeties that take the ball away, like Eddie Jackson even in Chicago, and other safeties that are able to be game changers. Those are the elite safeties. But Adrian Amos is far from bad, and that's what makes it such a good signing. He doesn't give up big plays. He can play man coverage. He can play the deep zone. He's an outstanding signing for Green Bay that spent a lot of money this offseason on a lot of different guys. I think they're trying to get in win-now mode, and Amos is a big piece of that.
Absolutely. And I love that one. Eric Weddle to the Rams was another one. I know it's kind of a 1-year deal, and it's one of those things where it's a 2-year deal actually, but one of those things where you bring a veteran into a spot where they needed some help. What did you think of Weddle going to the Rams?
I like that a lot. I think when you're a team that knows they're on the cusp of a Super Bowl win, signing veterans like that to low year deals to try and get some added talent down the stretch of Eric Weddle's career, fantastic signing. I really like what they're doing there. It helps the defense immediately. They're not tied to him long term, and he gets in win-now mode. Eric Weddle wants to win. He wants to contribute to a winning team. You're getting the best of Eric Weddle for a very cheap price. Another signing that I want to bring up is Shaquille Barrett signing with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on $5 million. That's next to nothing for a guy that we've seen in the past play very well. He's, putting him on a 1-year deal to kind of prove it and then get back on the market is an outstanding decision. I think they're going to make some plays with him. I think he's going to show that he's worth a lot more money in next offseason.
Hey, Austin, Chaz Osborne here. We just saw the Raiders sign LaMarcus Joyner. Where does he rank on your list for free safeties?
I like LaMarcus Joyner a lot. He's up and down. You question his size. It limits what you can do with him. You can't put him in man coverage against the Travis Kelce's of the world. But he's a great deep safety. He can play the deep third. He has great range. He hits relatively hard for a small guy, and he's a playmaker. He makes plays on the ball. I mean, this is the guy that played slot corner at Florida State and then was moved to safety. He's versatile in that way that he can cover slot receivers. That's very exciting. And if you look at the structure of the deal, the Raiders are only committed to him for $16.7 million for 1 year. If things don't work out in 2019, if he doesn't, isn't the guy, doesn't fit in their system, they can release him and have no money tied to him after. It's essentially a 1-year deal with a 1-year prove-it deal with options for the team to continue it at a relatively cheap price that will look cheap in 1 or 2 years. And I think the Joyner deal was fantastic, especially given the player that he is.
Yeah, we actually have a few of those deals. They did a really good job with the contract so far. Well,
and Austin, since we're talking Raiders now, one of the guys that I want to talk about, and I was just in the break, we were talking to the fellas here in the studio, and that was the signing of Terrell Williams, a 4-year, $44 million deal. And I like him because I think he's sneaky good. But in essence, and I know you were talking about this yesterday too, this is in essence kind of a 1-year prove-it deal where the Raiders aren't going to be on the hook for a lot of money should it not go the way they want it to.
Exactly. It's been masterful to see what Mike Mayock has done with all of the contracts. If you look at it at face value, Tyrell Williams, Trent Brown, and LaMarcus Joyner, big $1 million multi-year deals. However, if you look at the structure of the contracts, all of them can be off the books after the 2020 season with zero money tied. Tyrell Williams and LaMarcus Joyner don't have to be with the team after 2019 if things don't work out, and the Raiders don't have any dead money after that. Same with Trent Brown after 2. After 2 years, all the guaranteed money on his contract is out, and he can be released if things aren't panning out there. It's fantastic because I think Mike Mayock, self-evaluating the roster, understands that this team is not within arm's reach of a Super Bowl. They're not even within arm's reach of the division. They need to put together pieces to build around for 2018 and 2019 and make an exciting team to be competitive. However, they know in 2020 and 2021 when these 5+ first-round draft picks that they have are going into their year 2 and year 3 of their career and the roster is going to be competitive, that's when they're going to want money to spend on needs.
Hey, Austin, it's Kelly here. When you guys look at these contracts and when you're grading them, how much do you put in? How much do you weigh the contract versus the talent? Because you can't separate the two. But if you get a really good contract with a mediocre player, will that kind of raise it? Or is it a really bad contract but a really good player? Like, how do you guys? What's your kind of like line for your differentiation?
Well, at PFF, the biggest number we're looking at with all contracts is how much guaranteed money is involved. How long are you tied to this player? If you look at Quan Alexander and the contract he has in San Francisco, he's a good, not great player, and maybe isn't worth all the money in that contract, but they're only committed to him for 1 year. If he finds a way to thrive in this system, he'll be able to have success there, and they can have the team option to continue that. However, it's when you commit guaranteed money across multiple years. You look at Trey Flowers, an outstanding player, one of our favorites. They have guaranteed money committed to him through 2021. That signing really has to work out. They can't afford for him to not work in the scheme or him to have, just get disgruntled. They're committed $20 million plus in guarantees for the next 3-4 years. That's incredible to see. So looking at guaranteed money can help you understand how good, bad the contract is, and then you kind of throw that against how good the player is.
Again, we were speaking with Austin Gayle from Pro Football Focus. And Austin, in about the minute we have left with you, tell me what you think as far as NFL-wide, because we kind of, and you can tell us too, overall, how did the Raiders do overall, real quickly, and then who won free agency and who really just kind of screwed the pooch on it this season so far?
Yeah, that's great. I think a big win in free agency from a team perspective is the Bills. I think the Bills reshaped their offensive line, added veterans and young guys to get better along the offensive line, and added weapons for Josh Allen. If they're going to commit to Josh Allen after his rookie contract, give him the multi-million-dollar deal all quarterbacks get after their rookie contract, they need to know if he can win with good weapons. You bring in a Cole Beasley, you get the offensive line a little bit better, or you reshape the backfield, build around him so you can answer the question, is Josh Allen our guy? I think the Bills did a great job there. In terms of teams that maybe he spent too much money or maybe went too much all in, you look at some of the contracts handed out by the Green Bay Packers. I like Adrian Amos, but they spent a lot of money on unproven guys. Preston Williams, he's a guy that we don't know how good he is. We don't know. He hasn't ever proved that he's a talented guy. Or not Preston Williams, Preston Smith. Preston Smith, the edge defender they signed for $16 million plus. I don't know if he's a guy you'd want to commit to long term. It looks like they did that. So Darius Smith, who had an outstanding year last year, was really a run defender first. He had a surprise year as a pass rusher, but I don't know if that can be maintained in 2019 and beyond. They spent a lot of money opposite to what they've done in previous offseasons, and it could cost them if they are on the books for a lot of those guys in years to come.
All right. Austin Gayle from Pro Football Focus. Check him out at PFF_Austin Gayle. Austin, thanks, man. We'll talk to you again real soon.
Thanks, Austin.
Thanks.
All right. We're going to step aside and pay some bills. On the other side of this break, we're going to talk about the new look Raiders and what they got and what they still need. You're listening to the Silver and Black today here on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
CBS Sports Radio. Help us talk the Silver and Black. Call us at 702-889-5978. Here's Scott Gulbranson on CBS Sports Radio 1140 AM.
That is me. Welcome back to Silver and Black today on CBS Sports Radio. And thanks to David Crockett out on YouTube giving us some ideas. Yes, we would like to put some sound during the breaks. For those of you who are watching on video, people always give us, hey, it's silent. We put up a sign that says, hey, it's silent during breaks. Because in broadcast, you have rights issues. Like you can't just play music. You can't play the commercials because YouTube will ban us if we do that. You have all these different issues. But we're working on something to put there. Kelly says he will sing Sinatra tunes. And we're going to put his soundtrack up there. Right, Kelly?
It's funny you say that. I'm a big Sinatra fan.
I know you are. And that's what I'm saying is we'll get something up there. We're working on it. And we're always love your suggestions. Our viewers and listeners are awesome, and we love to listen to that. And so thank you. Okay, we're going to jump back in now, guys, and we're going to talk about the Raiders roster moves and what they mean. Antonio Brown, I think, that's been, I think, discussed to death, so I'm going to skip over that. Let's start with Trent Brown. We talked a little bit about him, guys, with Austin, But if you look at this deal, I think Trent Brown is a fine young player. I don't have any issue with him there. Spent last season as a member of the Patriots after 3 years with the 49ers. He's played in 47 games, 44 starts over his 4-year career, and 3 playoff games, which was this past year. He signed a 4-year, $66 million contract, the biggest ever for an offensive lineman, and a whopping 36.25 of that is guaranteed. Kelly, I'm going to go to you first on this one. What do you think? You talked about this. We were talking during the break about the money, because that's the issue I have with it. I don't have an issue with Trent Brown as a player. I just have an issue with that is a huge amount of money.
It is, but one, you have to overpay to get tackles in this league. There's 32 teams. There's not 64 starting tackles. So if you might have a right, you might have a left. Very few teams have both. So whenever one that's to the level of this, that's, like I said, a good tackle, maybe very good if he hits kind of his ceiling, you have to pay for that. The money issue, when you look at it, they have a ton of cap space. They have to spend it on somebody. Yep. You look at the first, the moves they've made with Brown, Williams and everything. That first year cap charge is going to be the biggest part of the charge because you have it now.
Right.
If they don't get him, they go after the thought of Juwan James just makes me nauseous. Paying him $13 million a year is insanity to me. But it's like if you go down a level, you're still overpaying for a tackle. If you're going to overpay for the one you think is the best.
Yeah. And also the cap went up $11 million, and I think we had the third worst offensive line last year. So when you look at the deal, it's something you really need, and I don't think it's that outrageous, to be honest with you.
You don't think so? Okay, no, I agree with you there. I'm just giving Chaz a little grief here, inside joke. But no, so I get that, and I agree with you. I think you're overpaying for him, but you have to. I mean, again, the market bears what the market bears, and if you look at it, you take big hits this year and next year. Okay, so at the very least, you're spending the money when you perhaps need to. I got to show everybody this. This is Chaz. Chaz we'll tell you why he owes us $1 later. But anyway, the point is, I think good move. Now, we talked about this with Austin too, guys, and that was Terrell Williams, the wide receiver from the Chargers, who is, I think, a really good young receiver. He was undrafted out of college. Is he a game changer? No, but I think he's got a lot to prove, and I think he's got talent. And if you look at the deal they gave him, according to Sport Track, really it's a 1-year deal. They get $10 million cap hit this year and none next year if they let him go. So to me, it's a prove it deal, and I like it. And he really will add a dynamic. I think you have Brown, you have him, and then of course you have other needs that you have, and we'll talk about that later with the tight end and so on. But I really like Terrell Williams. What do you guys as excited about him as I am?
For me, I saw a stat the other day that he has more 80. It was either 75 or 80-yard touchdowns than anybody else in the league. And I'm sitting there and I was thinking, well, does Derek Carr have the arm to get the ball out there and everything? Then I was like, but he was getting that from Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers doesn't exactly have a cannon anymore. So, I mean, he is a big play wide receiver. He can play some in the slot. He can play some in the outside. You can move him around, and it's not a bad money deal in my opinion. Like you're saying, if it just totally flames out, it's a 2-year deal because unless it's just a complete debacle, you're not getting rid of a guy that young after 1 year.
Yeah, and he's a perfect 2 to complement AB, and from what we've heard about his personality, he's going to fit that role and fit right in.
Yeah, and if we go to the first Williams cut there, I think it's cut number 3 or 4. Yeah, number 4. Let's go to number 4. Here's what he had to say.
Choosing here, seeing AB come here and seeing the things that they were doing on the offensive side of the ball, it's just exciting, and Derek's an awesome quarterback, so being able to go against those guys for the last 4 years is, it was kind of a easy transition, I guess you could say, being able to make that decision.
Well, there you go. So you have the kind of impact, right, of Antonio Brown coming to the Raiders. Here's a guy who wants to play opposite, because if you're a receiver and you see another guy over there who can go deep and the thing with Williams is, you talked about the stat, Kelly, about his touchdowns and the length of touchdowns that he's able to go score big. is the fact that he also, that's not the limit of what he does. He can go over the middle really good. He's good in the short and intermediary routes. So if you have Brown going deep, then he's going to be open a lot, especially if you address the tight end issue. So I think that's why Williams looking at the situation. If I'm him, perfect spot to sign, right?
Oh yeah, I mean it's going to be a nice situation for him. Anytime you can be the number 2 on the other side of AB, you're going to get open because you can't double everybody.
That's
and
right.
You're going to be doubling AB.
Right. It worked for J.J. Smith-Schuster, right? He looks like he can slide into a number 1 role just because of everything opening up because of Antonio Brown on the other side.
That's right. So now LaMarcus Joyner, we talked about him a little bit with Austin, 4-year, $42 million contract, 21.3 guaranteed, average of about 10.5 a year, which is right on track with what we're seeing safeties get this offseason. Although, again, everyone's talked about it. He's going to play nickel cornerback, right?
Is he? That's the thing.
You don't think so?
I like him as a safety more as a nickel corner. I really like him as a safety who can play nickel corner occasionally.
Right.
But they need to. I mean, obviously they know what they're doing. We don't know yet, but it's going to completely change their draft.
But it's nice to have that flexibility too.
Oh yeah, it's good to have the flexibility. But I mean, if they're like I said, it's gonna if you're taking safety, you've got to take one high because you're not getting one. Without that third pick, you're not getting a safety that's going to start in the league in the 4th or 5th round of the draft this year.
No, I agree with that. And other signings, of course, J.J. Nelson at wide receiver, the former Cardinals wide receiver, who is an interesting prospect because he's had dropsies, and we've had I think in the league receivers that have this great talent, but they have an inability to catch the ball, which is what a wide receiver is supposed to do. I mean, taking a chance on the guy, Kelly, I don't see any big deal with it, but I don't think people should count too much into it.
I don't see why you sign him if you have Seth Roberts. They're the same thing. Speed guy that can't catch. If you want to take Nelson and cut Roberts, I'm cool with that. But there's just it's just a redundant position at this point, in my opinion.
Well, and if we look at, we got a couple minutes left here before we hit a break. Released from so we talk about the money situation. Okay, A.J. McCarron, $5 million. Jordy Nelson saved $3 million. Donald Penn yesterday, of course, they mutually agreed to part ways, quote unquote. That's 5.475 or $5.5 million. Who's left to cut Seth Roberts to save money? Right? I mean, there's Seth Roberts. That's pretty much the last guy.
4.65 right there. Get rid of him.
Yeah.
Zero need for Seth Roberts on this team now.
Yeah, especially since you drafted last year. You have Marcel Aitman. You have some young receivers there. And Roberts, it's just he was a holdover when Gruden got there, and I haven't seen Gruden really show a lot of support for him other than to not cut him. So,
there are 20 Seth Roberts that can catch the ball in this draft this year.
Yeah.
He's the most easily replaced person on the team.
He is. Wow. All right. Well, you know what? We're going to continue the conversation around some of this. And also, what do all of these moves by the Raiders mean for the NFL draft? We're going to talk a little bit about that in a moment. We'll take your calls, too, 702-889-5978. You're listening to Silver and Black today here on CBS Sports Radio 1140. Don't go anywhere.
Hi, this is Steve Wisniewski, and you're listening to Silver and Black today.
All right. Thank you, Steve Wisniewski, for bringing us back, and thank you all for being with us on this Sunday, St. Patrick's Day. There is a lot of stuff going on, and we're going to talk about it. We were spending the last couple minutes talking about the roster moves that the Raiders have made over the course of the last week because there's been so many of them. Some of them very impactful. Others, I think, just the opportunity for the Raiders to bring in some folks and see what they can do and maybe give a chance at doing some new things. But we talked about, before the break, the signing J.J. Nelson. Now, yesterday, the Raiders also signed defensive end Josh Mora, 1 year, $1.4 million contract. They need edge rushers, guys, and they have nobody. He's only the second one on the roster. Again, I think you're going to draft all defense in the first round, so you'll take care of some of that. But anybody else out there? I mean, the only big free agent I think that could help the Raiders that's out there is the Chiefs linebacker, whose name is escaping me now. Justin Houston. So to me, that's a guy out there. He's dangling out there. He's 30 years old. Do you take the flight on him? Do you try it?
it's worth a shot. If he stays healthy, he's a good edge rusher. Ezekiel Ansah's still out there.
Oh, that's
and
true. Yeah,
the
that's
only
a good one. I
the
forgot
only
about him.
thing I'm hearing about him is people are scared of the shoulder. Because you're hearing nothing. There's just no mutters, no peeps. If you can get him cheap, get, like I said, do a 1 year with an option, something like that. Give him a prove it deal. I mean, I would definitely bring him in because he is a vast upgrade over anything we have right now.
I feel like Josh Morrow is probably just like a bridge player. The Raiders are going to probably, they're going to draft a defensive player, maybe all of them.
Yeah, but Chad, do you think they're going to go all defense? I think they are. I mean, I think there's a chance they could take an offensive player down at the bottom of the first round. But if it's me, I would take I'd take defense if it's there. Now, if there's a player if there's a good tight end there low in the first round, I think you do it. But to me, that need on defense is so glaring, and we're going to talk all about defense next hour. But to me, that's what I would do.
I'm a defense believer, and I think they
I
should
find
go
you
all
very
defense.
offensive.
Hey, best offense is a good defense.
Now, the problem is if you just start drafting for need over talent, you wind up with Sam Bowie over Michael Jordan.
Oh, basketball reference. Oh, nice.
That's exactly right.
So, yeah, but that's a good point. I mean, you do in the NFL draft, and we've talked about this before, Kelly, right? When Chaz was traipsing around Southeast Asia, we were talked about that on a show about how, look, yes, you have need, but if you get to a spot in the draft and there's a great player there, it doesn't matter where they play, you got to take them.
Yep. That's always been our philosophy. When you're drafting, you put up your draft board, and obviously you put everything in order. What you think is the most talented player, all the way down, and we did the same thing for free agency, right? You build your board, and what you think is the most talented, and on and on and on. And when you get to a point, and there's a guy that stands out, and everybody above him and a few players behind him are already gone, you just have to take it. You take best player available. 100 out of 100.
Right, and Chaz, I mean, since you were in that war room with the Lakers for all those years as a scout there and doing the draft, that's exactly what you guys did. If there's a guy there, it didn't matter if you needed a guard and they were a forward or center. If they're a great player, you're going to take them.
Right. I mean, that was always Al Davis's philosophy, right? You just get the best players, put them on the field, and see what happens.
Good question. Kelly, if Al Davis was alive, what would he think about the Antonio Brown deal?
Oh, he would have loved it. I mean,
Pig and slap over
and
that.
he would have drafted DK Metcalf at 4 to put on the other side. I mean, that would have.
You honestly believe that?
I do. That would have been his dream.
Go vertical.
Yeah.
What about giving $40 million to a safety?
I don't think he could comprehend giving $40 million to him.
The cap was only $40 million back then.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing, though. I mean, if you look at what the Raiders have done, I think fans get excited about it, right? But there was one piece, and a guy we've had here on the show, Michael Lombardi, former GM of the Cleveland Browns and also worked for the Raiders as well. He wrote a piece, and the title is "John Gruden Never Had a Long-Term Plan." Now, we talked about him with Michael, about Gruden with Michael several times on the show here during the season. And that's the one thing he was very consistent with in our interviews with him, which was if Gruden trades Mac, it looks terrible. But if he's doing it as part of a long-term plan, then we'll see and we'll get it. Same thing with Amari Cooper and all that stuff. Michael does not think he has a long-term plan. He says, and we've talked about this, Kelly and Chaz, about free agency. And if you look at the teams, especially those who've won Super Bowls in the last several years, including the Patriots, those teams didn't go nuts in free agency in the first few days, right? And he states here in his story, I'm just going to read you some of the quotes here. It occurs because teams lay back, let the market set, and then strike at the right moment. So the patience piece here. He says, agents know the desperate teams and they know the courageous teams, and they use teams' interest to set their market. No agent ever says the Bengals have a substantial offer because teams know the Bengals value the right deal. Everyone knows the Raiders will spend money. Everyone knows the Raiders head coach John Gruden is willing to take on problems, that he couldn't care less about culture, and therefore the agents use the Raiders as a lightning rod to help their deals. The smart teams tell agents, let him sign with the Raiders, and the desperate teams keep adding money to the pot. Oof. Wow. That's pretty solid. I mean, it's again, and it's not that Michael Lombardi doesn't like John Gruden. It's just he doesn't believe that he is adhering to, i.e., the Belichick approach and some of the others' approach.
Well, he's not. I mean, the AB trade just that shows right there that this was never going to be a long haul deal.
Yeah, and to me, we talked about that too, right? Which is 10 years, you have a contract. And here's, I'm going to read some more from Lombardi's piece here in a couple minutes. Courageous teams marry the player's talent to the deal. They view themselves as bankers handing out a loan. I love that line, by the way. If the player's ability does not cover the cost, then it becomes a bad loan. He goes on to say that last year, Gruden traded star defensive Khalil Mack. I wrote that I would give him the benefit of the doubt. My reasons for holding off were simple. I wanted to see if he had a plan. He's rewarding a player who quit on his team, i.e. Brown, last season with a new deal, and now instead of having leverage, he has to take whatever Brown and his strange behavior bring. Gruden's philosophy does not look like a substantial plan from my viewpoint. It looks like a coach who wants the older player and values receivers more than defensive linemen. Gruden was raised in the Bill Walsh system, but Bill Walsh believed fixing the wide receiver position was the last order of business. If Gruden cared about culture or cared about his locker room, he would develop talent through the draft and build his kind of team. And he said, basically finishes out saying Gruden looks like he's on a one-year deal and he might get fired next year instead of a guy that's got the longest deal in the NFL and has the time to build.
Well, but Gruden is building his kind of team. His kind of team isn't young. It is old. Like we saw it, in Tampa Bay when he got there. He brought Tim Brown back in. I mean, he had Brad Johnson. Mm-hmm. He's not the build up young people and teach the young. He wants the older people. He wants the older players, and that's his team. That's what he was always going to do.
There's two ways of looking at it too. You can say Gruden's this, Gruden's that, but he's got a plan, and he's a little older now, a little wiser. He's bringing in his kind of guys. You can hear it when he talks about it. He's excited about what he's doing.
Well, Lombardi disagrees, but that's okay. We don't have to agree with him on everything. I like Michael Lombardi, but maybe he's off a little bit on this one. We'll have to see. All right, we're going to step aside for the top of the hour sports break. When we come back, Jason Fitzgerald from Over the Cap will join us to talk NFL salary cap. You're listening to Silver and Black today here on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
The most in-depth coverage of the Silver and Black as they set their sights on Las Vegas for 2020. Live from the CBS Sports Radio 1140 studios, it's Silver and Black today. Join the conversation by calling 702-889-5978. Now, here's Scott Gilbranson.
Welcome back. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Remember, if you go out and have fun on St. Patrick's Day, there's ride services. There's no reason to get behind the wheel if you've had too much to drink. So don't be ridiculously stupid and change your life and someone else's life. Make sure you reach out, get a ride from Uber, Lyft, Mothers Against Drunk Driving. There's all sorts of free rides out there. So make sure you're responsible tonight on St. Patrick's Day. All right, speaking of responsible, being responsible with money, it's a big deal in the NFL. And we are going to now bring in Jason Fitzgerald. He's a cap expert and money contract expert with overthecap.com. Jason, thanks for being with us here on Silver and Black today.
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Doing good, man. I appreciate you taking time out on your Sunday. I know how busy it's been for you this week. We look at the NFL salary cap. The first thing I wanted to do is, those of us who cover the NFL and live this stuff, breathe it every day, we kind of look at it a lot, and we understand some of the terminology. I think for the average fan, one of the things we wanted to do was have you on at first to talk about, okay, the NFL salary cap. How does it work, and how it came to be and its intent, and how it's impacted the game. Let's start there, Jason. The NFL salary cap, how old is it, and what was the intent of the league to do it in order to create, I think, more parity amongst the league?
Well, you're going back all the way to the early 90s, which is really when the salary cap came into play. And, a lot of people think the salary cap is a real difficult thing. It's not really that difficult. I mean, it's basically an accounting system. It's basically designed to prevent certain teams, you go back into those times, teams like the Dallas Cowboys, for example, from having unlimited resources to go out every year and just spend a ton of money on specific players, whether it's each year you sign a whole bunch of new players. You don't really have to account for it. So they came up with a system to put a hard limit on the way that you can account for the salary cap charges that come for these players. And there's really not a lot of difference between the way that a player is paid and what their salary cap charge is. unless a team uses what's called a signing bonus. And the signing bonus is a big chunk of money that's paid at the front of the contract, and that divides equally, over the term of the entire contract up to 5 years. It used to be 7 years, and teams would kind of abuse that, so they brought it down more and more to create more parity in the NFL. So that's really the basics of the salary cap. In terms of impact it's had on the league, it's had a lot. It's teams have had to devote more resources to studying the way that you do NFL contracts, how to optimize the efficiency and the payouts of them so you can go into free agency year after year, or that you're not pinched to be able to sign your own free agents. Teams that have mishandled it, they've had struggles. Those great Cowboys and 49ers teams had to kind of dismantle because of the salary cap. The Raiders would be a perfect example of it back in 2012, 2013. They basically turned themselves into an expansion team because of bad contractual decisions and contract structures that happened for, a good 4 or 5 year period. Even now you're seeing it with teams like the Miami Dolphins, who are basically stripping themselves completely down because the way their cap was structured and the way their contracts were structured just didn't match the production on the field. And it gets to a point where you just can't get any better if you just keep sinking money into the same players by trying to find ways to account for it. And, so it still has a pretty big impact, but teams are getting a lot better at managing it to where it doesn't hurt them as much in the future.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You mentioned the Raiders. When Reggie McKenzie came in, he had a bevy of problematic contracts. I think the Raiders had more than $45 million of dead money, and I know that the Dolphins are there now. Can you explain a little bit about the dead money?
The dead money for the Raiders back then was gigantic.
Right.
And, that's obviously concern for most teams. When you look at the way that deals are structured, one of the things that you want to look at is really what that dead money is going to be when that player is potentially going to be released. A lot of times people talk about salary guarantees, and that's also very important. But the way those deals are structured, that still has a big deal. For example, the Lions this week signed Trey Flowers to a contract that has a signing bonus of almost $30 million. That means even 4 years into his deal, it's going to cost you $10 million in dead money to release the player. That's a lot, even with the salary cap going up, more and more.
Right.
That's a big number. So those things are still important that come into play.
Well, you talk about guarantees. Now, there's fully guaranteed, there's conditional guaranteed. I know Raider fans, unfortunately, remember Rolando McClain, and he was suspended those 2 games. And then, ultimately he was cut for conduct detrimental to the team, and then that voids all the guarantees, correct?
Yeah, so when you have guarantees in a contract, for example, the Raiders right now don't use signing bonuses anymore, but they use a lot of guarantees that would usually happen in the second year of a contract. And usually those guarantees, if a player does something, can be voided, and that can avoid having to pay that money out. It avoids the dead money involved with it. McClain, he was suspended for conduct detrimental. Usually steroid suspensions will void future guarantees, really any kind of drug suspension. So there's also a benefit to not using those signing bonuses, which are only subject to a minor amount of forfeiture, compared to using guarantees where the whole guarantee will void usually if the player does something that just doesn't put the team in a positive light or just hampers the player's abilities.
Hey, Jason, this is Kelly. Unused cap space can be rolled over every year. Is there a certain amount, like up to a certain percent of the cap that can be rolled over, or how do they figure out how much can be rolled over from year to year?
No, you can just roll over as much as you want. So basically, when you see these teams with these large amounts of salary cap rollover, what that means is they've probably gone through a period of time where they just didn't spend a lot of money. The Indianapolis Colts, for example, the New York Jets, they stripped their rosters down. They didn't spend a lot of cap dollars. They didn't spend a lot of real dollars. So they would just carry over this money to amass huge amounts of cap space to go out and maybe have 1 year. The Jets, for example, would be this year, where you go out and you sign a bunch of contracts and you don't really pay that much attention to the way the cap charges are going to break down because you have so much money.
Yeah. Now, so again, we're talking to Jason Fitzgerald from overthecap.com. Jason, now let's focus on the Raiders right now. Clearly, they were active this past week, and if you look at the guaranteed money and how that impacts their salary cap, they had a lot to spend, right? If you look at them now after this first week, the needs that they still have, and of course the draft coming up next month, where do they sit? Is there any concerns that you see, or are they in a pretty good spot?
Oh, well, with the cap, they're in a pretty good spot. I think with the Raiders, I think the thing with them right now is you also have to consider these teams have a cash budget, right? You can only spend so much money, and the Raiders have spent a pretty good amount of money this year. And the draft, because they have 3 top draft picks, those picks are actually going to cost them a lot of money. Maybe not so much in terms of cap dollars. It'll cost them about $13 million in cap room, but those top 4 picks alone, they're probably going to have to cut about $40 million worth of checks between now and next March. So that's a ton of money for any football team. So they might be a little tight with their actual budget, but they, cap-wise, they're perfectly fine this year, and they should be fine next year as well.
Yeah, that's good. And I mean, clearly, from a cash perspective, the Raiders coming to Las Vegas, that's one of the main reasons they're coming here, right? Which is the idea that they're going to generate more revenue with the new stadium and all of the other things that come along with that. When you look across the NFL, Jason, in the week that we saw, was there anybody who is the perfect example? Because you mentioned this has now become a big industry, and there are capologists, as they call them, on each team. Each team hires attorneys and folks who understand contracts and this system. And some teams, let's face it, are just better than others. Is there a team out there that sticks out to you who's really doing this well and showed that again this week?
There's a couple of teams that do this well. I mean, the Patriots always do this well, but they weren't very active. The 49ers generally are a team, I think, that handles their salary cap very well. You can question some of the decisions they make. I think it's the players they sign. And you look at them this week, they did sign a lot of players with big injury history, Quan Alexander, Dee Ford. But they usually are able to structure their contracts in a way that are very team-friendly. They have what we call vesting dates, which is when an injury guarantee becomes a full guarantee. They have dates that run into April for those. They put a lot of money in these contracts that players will lose if they actually don't play on Sunday. They're usually able to hammer out pretty good valuations on a lot of their players. Not everybody, but on a lot of their guys, they're able to do that. I think they usually do a pretty good job with it. I think that was pretty evident this week since they were one of the more active teams.
Excellent. Well, Jason Fitzgerald, overthecap.com. He's also a contributor over on the Sporting News. Jason, thanks again. I'm sure we'll reach out to you again. We appreciate you taking time on your Sunday.
Yep.
Thanks, Jason.
Yep, no problem. Thanks, guys.
All right. Jason Fitzgerald, check out overthecap.com. It's a great site, too, guys, to kind of educate yourself. Like if you have a question on a contract or if you want to see what's going on, overthecap.com is a good one. So we got a little bit of education there, I think.
Yeah.
It's the same thing, frankly, when I talked to Mark Bedane from the Raiders one time, and I mentioned salary cap. He's like, we're not worried about the cap. It's more the cash we're worried about and how you structure those deals. And the Raiders do deal. Each team does contracts differently. He mentioned they don't really give signing bonuses anymore. They structure it differently, which makes a big deal. But really interesting. I think for most fans, it's just hard to navigate what the terms are more than it is the actual concepts, right?
Yeah. The NBA has a set thing. If you're drafted number 1, you get a set salary, number 2 all the way down. And for the NFL, not Wild West, but it's a little more complicated. So it's fascinating to talk to the cap. I love people don't think about all the moves and all the 2-3 steps ahead that you have to think about when you're signing certain players and certain contracts.
Yeah.
Because you got to look ahead.
Well, we're going to step aside. On the other side of this break, we're going to talk about defense in the NFL. Do you need a dominant defense? The Raiders should draft all defense in the first round. That's my point of view. We'll see if the guys agree. You're listening to the Silver and Black today on CBS Sports Radio, 1140 in Las Vegas.
Is with the radio.com app. Download it today and search CBS Sports Radio 1140 in Las Vegas and listen to us anytime, anywhere.
Welcome back to Silver and Black today here on CBS Sports Radio 1140 in Las Vegas. Happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. Okay, we're going to get into a debate, a conversation here. And I think I've talked to you about this, Kelly, not so much Chaz, but when we look at the NFL, as I've stated several times during this show, I think the Raiders should use all 3, with the caveat, unless there's an incredible offensive player available at the bottom of the first round, on defensive draft picks. I argue with friends of mine. I argue with folks that watch and listen to the show a lot about this. I'm getting back the opinion that, no, draft all offense, defense doesn't matter anymore. Where do you guys sit? Kelly, I'll start with you. Do you need a dominant defense to win in the NFL, to win a championship in the NFL?
13-3 was the final score of the Super Bowl. The greatest offense in the NFC scored 3 points against the Patriots.
Yep. Well, and the Patriots, I think, were the number 5 offense, right? But we almost saw the Jaguars in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. That's a dominant defense there with Blake Bortles as your quarterback, and we saw it a few years back with Peyton Manning and the Denver Broncos defense, and of course, a decade before that with Trent Dilfer and the Ravens. We talked about that a little bit. Those are examples of dominant defenses. You do not need a dominant defense to win the Super Bowl, to win games. What you need is ball control. You need balance. You need, a perfect example is New England. The time of possession last year, they averaged those 2 playoff games before the Super Bowl, 40 minutes. It was 2/3 of the time they had the ball. The one way you want to keep a great offense from scoring, you keep them off the field. Against the Chargers, that first scoring drive I think was almost 8 minutes. The next game against the Chiefs, their first scoring drive. This is the first drive of the game was 7 minutes. You got a great offense. A great offense. I know we always hear a good offense, a good defense.
Right, but so, and I don't disagree. The game has changed. There's no question with these spread offenses and everything that's happening that you don't do it. But if you look back, going to 2010, if we look at Super Bowl champions, the Saints, the Packers, so that's the 10 Saints had a very good defense. The Packers, Giants, Ravens, Seahawks also had a good defense. Then the Patriots, Broncos, Patriots, Eagles, Patriots. Sorry. But my point is if you look at the Patriots last year, they were not a dominant defense.
Not at all. They were 23rd in defense last year.
Right. So they were middle to low, but they faced a team that had a 32 ranked defense a lower ranked defense in the Rams. And they beat the 32 ranked defense to get to the Super Bowl when they beat the Chiefs.
Correct.
So my point is, when it comes to the playoffs, guys, and when it comes to getting to a Super Bowl and winning it, you don't have to have the number 1 defense in the league, but you have to be pretty good and be able to slow the team down enough to give your offense a chance to outscore the other team.
And that's the thing. It depends on what you like. What threshold are you putting for your defense? You don't have to have the 85 Bears to win a Super Bowl. If you have no offense, you have to. I mean, but yeah, so true. I understand what you're saying, but I mean, there's just so many different parameters to put around something like that. It's like, yeah, if you have the number 1 defense in football and it's great, but your quarterback is
terrible.
I mean, not even terrible. Like even if he's, Blake Bortles, like we said, they're there.
Good example.
It's you have to have some offense there too. But it was 13-3 in the Super Bowl.
So, but
you have to have defense to win a championship.
But here, yes, you have to have defense to win the championship. But I think this is the gist of this question for me has to do with the Raiders, and that is, if you're going in to this draft and you look at what they've done, they went out and they got Antonio Brown, they got Terrell Williams, they have what they think is their franchise quarterback. You still need running backs, but you can work on that. You need a tight end, okay, and you need a left guard. Most of all, that's a big one. But
let's keep going.
But I will tell you that if you look at what the Raiders did on defense last year, they got better in the defensive backfield. They have a better young presence up the middle. Wasn't enough to put enough pressure on the quarterback, and they had nothing on the edge. So if I'm the Raiders and I'm thinking about balancing, because to your point, Chaz, earlier, you have to balance things out. And right now, they've added offensive weapons. They've gotten better on offense in free agency. They now have to build up that defense to the point where they're at least a middle-of-the-road defense for me to feel like, okay, now you're going to win a couple more games.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm a big believer in defense. I think they will draft mostly defense in the draft since they've already addressed most of the offensive needs in free agency. Last year, the Raiders were almost at historically bad defensive numbers midway through the season, and then the offense started clicking, and you saw that balance, and it kind of brought everything back to where it needs to be, and the offense started holding on to the ball a little bit more, and that gives your defense time to rest.
Kelly's got some sage words.
Well, no, and it's you're saying, to win a championship,
That's right. That's the goal, right?
Yeah, it's the goal, but it's not the goal next year. So
No. I get that.
That's why I'm saying you don't necessarily have to go all defense this year.
Okay.
You've got 2 first-round picks next year. You've got another round of free agency.
Right.
So, I mean, I understand what you're saying. There's a lot of holes on the defense. But to me, I mean,
best available.
The left guard position scares me more than not having a defensive end right now.
Right, because you are a hit away from Peterman as your quarterback, correct?
Yep.
Well, then you're a hit away from the first pick in the draft, which isn't a bad thing.
Oh, stop. But yeah, no, I hear what you're saying, and that is there are definitely issues on the team, but you have to get defense, and you go by, and we've talked about this 100 times on the show, right? Which is you have to go by what are the strengths of this draft.
And you don't have to get any linebackers because every Raider fan will tell you they can just throw anything out there because it's Gunther's system.
Yeah, no, that's not true. You do need linebackers, but my point is you have a situation where yes, okay, you're not going to run for a championship this year. Fair point, Kelly. At the same time, you have to get better. You have to take those steps, and you can't just say, okay, now we have the best offense in the history of the world. Oh, let's go get some defensive guys now because we want to win a championship. You have to do it together. It has to be that balance, right?
Yep.
Well, I was going to say Kansas City would do that, but they went the complete opposite. They said, let's get rid of
our defense.
Let's get everybody that plays defense in general and just go with the offense.
Well, that said, though, if you're John Gruden, Mike Mayock, outside of the left guard position, focusing on defense, knowing what you have now, I've always argued, and this year because of the draft, go interior defensive line if the player's there. Otherwise, it's edge. That has to be your top 4 pick, doesn't it? I mean, you guys agree?
Yeah. I think it does. I mean, if Quinnen Williams falls to 4, which may or may not, we don't know yet, if they pass on him to go to a Rashawn Gary or another edge, if we're live casting that at the draft, you'll watch me vomit on air.
Oh, that's not what we want to see. But you bring up a good point. Rashawn Gary to me is not a first-round draft pick, just not. If you look at what he does, incredible talent, incredible athlete, but from what he did last year, rushing the passer in that system, and all that stuff, he's just not to me a guy I would take there. I just wouldn't.
Oh yeah, I mean he's not a number 4 pick,
right?
He is a mid to late first round pick. Just the talent alone, you're going to get a first round. A team take him in the first round because if he hits, will be great. If he's not, he's still got enough talent to where his floor is going to be enough to where you can kind of justify a late first round pick. I don't want him at 4, but if 24 or 27, I can talk myself into that pretty easily.
I can't even do that. Sorry, I don't see it. I think you can get a better player there.
What other edge are you getting at 24 or 27?
Well, I would imagine that. Well, I wouldn't go the edge then, unless they're who. For him there, no, I still wouldn't do it. Because I think you'll have a tight end there. I would rather take a tight end.
So you're going without an edge in this draft as well.
No, but I would say that I think at the end of the day, the edge will be available at number 4. So I think they're going to address it at number 4. And I believe in my heart of hearts, not because I want it, I really would like to see them draft Quinnen Williams. I think that would be the best fit for the Raiders. And he's also the best player to me. Best fit for anybody. But I think it's going to be Josh Allen. I just have a feeling. I don't know why, but I think that's what's going to happen. So I think by the time you get down there, you're going to have other needs outside of edge.
I want to see him use that Bears pick next year, try to package it up, move up to 1 to get Bosa. Just end this. Don't worry about your edge anymore. We got it now.
Yeah, that's a good point. Chaz, where are they going to go? What do you think?
I'm not sold on Bosa 100%, only because I haven't seen a lot of the draft. I'm still trying to catch up on all the college players this year. We need defense. But like you said, I guess they're going to go best available when it gets down a little lower.
Yeah.
Because we do have next year as well. So take the best player you can, put him out on the field, and let's make this thing happen.
That's right. Well, it's going to be fascinating. We're going to have a lot of time to talk about it as we get into the kind of doldrums of the offseason after we get past this next month, which is
Greg Dortch, 5th round, grabbing.
Greg Dortch.
6th round, sorry.
You're the big Dortch fan.
I am the Greg Dortch apologist over here.
Dorchologist. All right, we're going to step aside. When we come back, our final little deal of the day, which is going to be Kelly's Corner, where he's going to drop some knowledge on us. You're listening to Silver and Black today here on CBS Sports Radio, 1140 a.m.
Miss parking in your garage? Is your spare bedroom filled with old stuff?
This is Mark Bedane, president of the Raiders. You're listening to Silver and Black Today.
Oh, yes, you are. Las Vegas's only all Raiders talk show. Kelly Kreiner, Chaz Osborne, Scalco Branson, we are here for your entertainment. Yes. And there's nothing more entertaining than our resident draft expert. And what else are you? I don't know what we call you.
That's pretty much it.
You know, what's funny too is you always know when you're doing well when you start to get people talking trash to you when we're on the air, and I don't want to give them credence by telling it, but some of the insults that they throw at all of us is really funny. It's enjoyable, and sometimes they're really funny, and I actually laugh at myself even if it's a put down because it's funny. But anyway,
do people think we actually care? Like, I don't care what the people I know think about me. I really don't care about what somebody out there I've never seen thinks about me.
Well, and the funny thing is you have you just go with it, and it's fun, and that's part of the whole deal. I mean, you don't go into the media business at all, no matter what level you're at, to like it. But the point is, people watch the show, they listen to the show. We have great listeners. Without them, without the viewers, we're not here. So I appreciate them. But we do have some a-holes occasionally that pop in, and good for them. I'm glad they're watching. Keep watching. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of people who don't like us, who talk trash about us, and watch us and listen to us because I can see the numbers, and it's awesome. Keep doing it. We appreciate it. All right, Kelly, it's your corner, man. Take it away.
All right. I know we're a football show here, but for a couple minutes, I'm going to give you a little bit of basketball knowledge.
Oh, it is Indiana.
It is Selection Sunday today. As we all know, most people will be spending most of their workday tomorrow printing out brackets and filling them out. Two pieces of advice. One, don't expect to win your company pool unless you are a secretary that knows nothing about sports.
Absolutely. Administrative assistant. Come on.
And two, chalk. Your Elite Eight better have... Most of your Elite Eight better be 1s, 2s, and 3s. Don't be that person that wants to be the smart guy and be like, yeah, I had that 7 seed winning it all. It doesn't happen. Okay? One other little piece of advice, and this is for the people that might like to throw a couple bucks or two on a game. Everybody's going to be loving Murray State this year in their opening round. Let all those people throw some money on them. Hit against whoever they're playing. I don't even care who they're playing. They can play anybody. Bet the other side right before the game taps. You're going to get the best line. Murray State does not deserve to be in the tournament this year.
Wow, there you go.
All right.
The Racers.
And those Murray State grads out there not real happy with Kelly right now.
The number 3 pick in the draft, I know, is on their team. I don't care.
Well, the thing about the NCAA tournament, and again, you say it's a football show, but this last segment we kind of do wild card stuff, is, to me, it is without a doubt the best non-competitive sport event there is, and that is the Selection Sunday. I think sitting the bracket thing, back in the old days, for old guys like me, we printed it out and had to write it in real fast as they went down the screen. Right. Now you can print out these pre-printed brackets and wait so people don't do it. I don't think it's as exciting. We used to do predictive brackets too, where we would do a contest that way. Now it's gotten that way. The one thing I do hate, though, is when you hear people on the radio and they go through the bracket. Well, I got this team, and who cares? To your point, who cares? Like, pick your stuff, have fun with it, and my wife does that with my son at home with football. It's like, pick this parlay for me. And I can't tell you how many times the kid has picked like 9 out of 10 teams on a parlay with no knowledge whatsoever.
Yep.
Your NCAA bracket's kind of like your fantasy football team. No matter how much you think other people care about it, nobody cares about it.
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
No, it is your point. It's a fun time of the year. I love watching the kids. Today on Selection Sunday when they got them all grouped together in the gym or wherever they are, and their name gets called, and they all just freak out, and they're so excited. And they work hard to get to the spot, and then they get rewarded. It's fun.
Well, and not only that, but you have so many people and so many teams who never get the opportunity to go. So when you do get to go, I don't care if you're a small school, big school, it's something you remember for the rest of your life, win or lose, and certainly it is. Now, just a little bit of a soapbox. I think with all the money involved now, it's gotten away from kind of how it used to be but what hasn't in the world, right? Nowadays, everything kind of gets a little corrupted by money. We saw the college scandal this week with the celebrities paying their way in.
Yep.
No different than how athletes get into college, in my view. So but to me, it's such an exciting point. It's when it's a time like the Super Bowl. Super Bowl Sunday, everybody cares about the Super Bowl because it's a party.
Right.
When it comes to the NCAA tournament, everybody cares for those at least the first 2 weeks when it's most
usually
exciting.
just the first weekend.
Yeah, first weekend is great. First weekend in Las Vegas, Kelly, you know too. We're working in the service industry. The first weekend in Las Vegas is just as big as the Super Bowl.
Thursday and Friday's wild.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, I mean, it's great. Saturday and Sunday, you've got a few less games, so they're a little more spread out.
Right.
It's not quite as hectic. But yeah, this is my 4 favorite days of the year. I mean, to me, there's just nothing better than
Yes, it's a blast.
But you mentioned the college scandal thing. What these people screwed up with, they put their name on a check, not their name on a building. If you donate money to a school to start a building, your whole family's in that school for decades to come.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, no, and it's funny, too, because if you look at the situation, they cheated to get in, there's no question. But there's a CBS sports radio show on an hour before ours, the John Kincaid Show. I really like John. He's out of Atlanta, national host. But he brought up the point. He's like, look at Duke. The average SAT score of kids that are admitted to Duke University is 1460. Do you know what you have to get as an athlete to get into Duke?
I'm guessing about 300.
Not that bad. It's 1,000. So you tell me. And someone called in and said, look, yeah, but those kids, they toil and they sweat and they work at their sport. Yes, but that doesn't matter. Their parents, these celebrities, their parents toiled to become actors and make a lot of money. That because you worked hard at something doesn't give you the opportunity to get into an academic institution with a score that is 460 points below the average. So the indignation by people over these, and I'm not excusing it, I think it's terrible, but again, back to your point, Kelly, which is influence and buying your way into school, it's happened. This just happened to include wire fraud, which to what I would tell them is
fake charities. And
as some of those in my Italian bloodline know very well, do it all in cash so you can't track it, right?
If you use nothing but paper, there's no paper trail.
That's right. That's right. So, but it'll be interesting to see how that all pans out. But I think that, yeah, the NCAA tournament this weekend, next weekend, is going to be fascinating. It's always fun time here in Las Vegas. So many people come here. I think it's probably the biggest guys trip weekend of the year. People from all over the country come in and have fun. And it's not football related, of course, but it is sports related.
Bring
right,
it back
Jeff?
to football. Just you had mentioned Donald Penn at the beginning of the show. I don't know how you guys feel about Donald Penn. I got a chance to meet him in a casual setting after a game one time, and I got to talk to him about 5 or 10 minutes. And just what a great dude, you know. I just loved his toughness and his passion on the field. And, from all the reports we heard about what a great person he was off the field. And I finally got a chance to meet him and talk to him for a little bit. And, he really was a great guy. He's really going to be missed, in my opinion. Take care, Donald Penn. Appreciate you.
Are you getting choked up there?
Yep.
You made it sound like he died for a second there. I'm like, did I miss something on Twitter?
You know what? No, he's a good guy, and it was brought up by one of the Bay Area writers too. The turkey drive that he does every year to feed families at Thanksgiving. You know, those guys, they do. A lot of them get involved in the community. Donald Penn is one of those guys. It's too bad. This is the business side of things, right? You'd love for a guy to end his career, be able to stick around, but the money just gets in the way. And God bless him. He's got to go get what he thinks he can get. He still thinks he can play in the league, and I'm sure he'll find a job.
Oh, yeah.
And he'll do well. So it's always tough to say goodbye to folks. But the Raiders are in a period where everything's changing, guys. Everything is changing. There's going to be a lot of changes over the next couple years.
There's always rollover.
Yeah, there's always rollover now, especially. But now with what they're doing and whatever that plan is, and I do think they have a plan, it's going to happen more and more. We're going to see it this year. A lot of young players come in. They've signed their veterans, and I don't think they're done with the veterans. In the about 30 seconds we have left, Kelly, who do you think, any free agents they go get, what are your odds-on favorite for them to sign?
I think they're pretty much done with all their signings. If they go and get anybody, it's going to be a name that you're probably not going to really know and or care about. It's going to be a depth person that's just going to kind of be.
That's fair.
Or a bridge player, somebody you bring in to help these young guys that they're drafting to kind of bridge the gap for a year or two.
Yeah, that's good to know. All right. Well, we are in a shortened show because of said NCAA basketball. So in the biz, a segue. Thank you, Kelly, for making your segment about college basketball. But we want to thank you guys for joining us here on the Silver and Black today. Kelly Kreiner, Chaz Osborne, I am Scott Branson. We appreciate you being here as always. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast and subscribe to this show so you can get it after the fact so you don't miss another one. And we will be back here next week. Same time, same bat channel. We appreciate your support, everybody. And it'll be another exciting week, I think, in Raider Nation. For the entire team and for our engineer, David Sapanian, I'm Scott Branson. Thanks again.